Yes, there we go. A little bit of audio issues, but I'm here. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully y'all can hear just fine. Yeah, let me know, I guess in the chat if I'm having any audio issues. Hopefully it's resolved from last time. But today we are going to be kicking off with the semi-finals of the grand final of the South Sea Mercenary League Season 2 Legendary literal 9-month season, or 8 months or whatever. What did we start this in May or something? Ridiculous. Honestly, I'm just glad we got it finished before the end of the year, to be completely frank with you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket here real quick as we get the first replay loaded up. You guys can see all of these players. For those of you guys who don't know, played through their own qualifiers. You can find the stream VODs on the channel. Each of them prevailed in their qualifier to earn a place in in the grand final. Earn a spot to compete for a prize, which I didn't ever announce this publicly until now, but the prize is substantial. So if I go ahead and pull this up here. Yes. So the prize is $400 for first place and $150 for second. So let's see who can take home the prize. Awesome. Thanks, Kirill. Appreciate that. Oh, goodness. Hopefully the stream is doing okay. Let me just check here. It seems fine. Let me know if it's super laggy or anything. Yeah. Testing out some new settings here, so hopefully everything works well. But anyway, we've got Alric Growl versus Green One first in a best of 5, then Void Lulz versus Ice Power Total War also in a best of 5. So we're going to start here with Alric Growl versus the Green One. First matchup is going to be Warriors of Chaos versus Beastmen. So let's get to that. Yeah, probably should have arranged this a little better ahead of time, but that's okay. Excellent. Perfect timing. Let's get that. And let's take a look at the army compositions real quick. These were all fought beforehand, and we're just going to be rewatching the replays. Probably should have said that already, but just in the interest of the players' time, since it's the holiday season, I really wanted to just let everyone get their games in whenever they could and just send me the replays. So we've done that, and here we are with Beastmen, Alric Growl into the Green One's Warriors of Chaos. So on the Beastmen side, looks like Ungor's up front. I've seen regular Ungor herd making a little bit of a comeback recently. I'm not the biggest fan of them as a unit, honestly, but let's see what Alric can do with them here. Tarok's Brass Bowl, obviously very strong. We've got Gorbel as well. A couple of Manticores with a Bracium and Lord Wild on a Chariot backing them up. Some Spears over on the side. Let's see here. Some Marauder Horsemasters up front. For the Green One, some Chaos Chariots as well. Looks like Archeon with double Exalted Hero, 2 Feral Manticores as well, so very strong single entity presence. Warriors of Chaos here, and lots of defensive and chaff infantry help soak up the damage. So the ROR throwing axes here, obviously with the regeneration trait. I mean, it's not regeneration specifically. They don't have the weakness to fire, but the 4 hit points per second with that Drunken Bravado will help them stay fresh and help them fight into the late game. There's not a ton of really good targets for them to throw their axes at, except for Archeon. I mean, they could try and get after the Chariots, perhaps, but Archeon's a relatively small target. It's not super easy for the throwing axes to really deal that much damage to him, but Manticore's just chilling back for the time being. Both players kind of sizing each other up. This is Toothgrass Hill, the map which gives the Beastmen a bit of an advantage in the Vanguard department because you can kind of immediately seize this hill position and then push down. You can see the Green Ones just conceding the high ground, willing to take this fight down in the low ground, just kind of pull Alric out of position here. Alric perhaps could have brought a Zygor here to try and force the attack onto the hill, but for the time being, just some probing attacks. We've got a charge over here on the left side of Alric. Probing with these Centaurs, trying to find some weakness on these Marauders, but the Manticores do come in and punish that pretty hard. The Centaurs getting a great charge here on these Chaos Chariots, though. And both the Beastmen Manticores also sweeping over into this flank. Pretty nice. Trader King going to be used here. That's going to hit multiple cavalry units. Yeah, 3 units of heavy cav. That is just excellent value train right there. Going to do quite a bit of damage to those Horse Masters. Meanwhile, in the center, you can see the hero fight getting underway. Archeon going to get in and pop his buffs. I believe, yeah, all on buffs on both sides, I would imagine. I think that's going to favor Archeon slightly, but we'll see. Kind of depends. We get a close-up view of how this fight is actually playing out in terms of entity contact. Both the Beastman Manticores are in here, which is going to significantly swing things in the Beastman's favor. Both the Chaos Manticores do rush down in as well, so just all the single entities fighting in a big blob here. Meanwhile, we've got a nice burning head, and the Beastman cavalry is prevailing over the Horsemasters, sort of to be expected. But, yeah, the Centaurs are throwing axes, RORs there getting in. Of course, again, with that regeneration, they are really nice kind of hybrid utility, both melee and ranged. But this blob fight, the Beastman Manticore is definitely taking a beating here. So far, Torox is relatively secure. Archeon's definitely taking a lot more damage than him. But Torox wisely just avoiding that engagement, getting out of there. Meanwhile, Manticores actually do start pummeling each other pretty efficiently. A lot of RNG in this fight, to be honest, but looks like another really nice Traderkin going to be popped here. One advantage, Traderkin's a pretty strong spell, honestly. Like, if Archeon had access to, say, Final Transmutation, that would absolutely turn this around, but he really doesn't have great spells for dealing with blobs of characters, to be honest. Like, Lore of Fire is obviously great for dealing with chaff, burning out leadership, but, you know, with the Terror tools kind of running to the hills, right, we've got this Manticore in Rage chasing off the other Manticore. The other Warrior's Manticore has been routed, so that's a rough situation, but Marauder should be doing just fine. Centaurs also cleaning up peripheral engagements. Could be pretty critical in the late game. Nice burning head from Archeon, but the Beastmen, the Centaurs come in and get a surround, and they kind of bully the Chaos Warriors and Marauders into a position where Torox and the Gorbel can come in and just smash these characters without them having enough support. You can see, again, just the Centaurs getting in there, allowing those rear and side attacks to happen on Archeon from those single entities. So that infantry and cavalry support in those single entity fights. I talk about the single entities themselves, obviously, a lot in terms of their own positioning, making sure you get favorable engagements, 2v1, like here. Warriors of Chaos have a pretty good chance to pull back, but a brutally placed Traderkin is going to hit a huge pocket of units, and even though the damage scaling isn't as efficient against single entities, it's still very good. And that value train of just hitting that many units all at the same time is pretty nasty. But Warriors of Chaos, I do feel, are kind of falsely behind on the balance of power a little bit here, as Manticore's gone. Gorbel's going to get absolutely crushed. And Torox also not super healthy. I mean, Archeon's definitely in trouble here. And this is what I was talking about in terms of the throwing axes. Poison, too, from the Grog hooves as well. They're just going to be able to deal with Archeon pretty efficiently. We'll see. I mean, the missile block chance and Archeon's physical resistance, missile resistance, all kind of play into this here, obviously, but we'll see. We'll see. Right now, the Ungor's just pulling back. Torox also patiently waiting for the right opportunity. Beastmen don't want to overextend, because, again, this balance power kind of falsely inflated, but really nasty for the Warriors. This is so bad. The Feral Manticore gets enraged, goes straight into the Grog Hoofs, just takes a bunch of damage. It does actually force them out of position, which is alright, but at this point, the Centaurs with throwing axes can pretty much just be set on fire at will and try and kite this out. Alric having, Green One having lost all of his ranged units, really has no choice but to just kind of try and commit forces wherever he can, try and get some catches wherever he can. He's really going after these Grog Hoofs, which unfortunately is going to lead to these two Manticores getting isolated from the rest of the army here. And without the terror of the Manticores, it's going to be a lot harder to deal with this Beastman presence, even if you were to get some good engagements, but we'll see. Certainly the Centaurs are staying aggressive, trying to finish off Archeon. Sniping him out would definitely spell the end for this Warriors of Chaos army, there's no question. So, he's sitting around a little under 500 HP for the time being. Hello, Wicked. Welcome. Yeah, Beastman's in a pretty good position right here. The Green One's having to respond with his Warriors in a way that's potentially pretty tough, but let's see. Ooh, nice little feint there. Alric not committing the Centaurs to those heavy Chaos Warriors. Instead, the Ungors are going to come act as a great meat shield, just absorb multiple units and open up some other avenues of approach. Again, the Centaurs trying to get at these characters with their throwing axes. Those are really the best value targets to shoot at. That Exalted Hero down below 300. Now, if they could just get a few hits on Archeon as well, possibly finish him off. No, it looks like he actually doesn't take any damage from those volleys. Although the Exalted Hero now, yeah, 253 on him. The other one's hitting just below 1,000, much healthier in comparison. But nice standard die popped. Considering how the balance power has been teetering, I have to say, the green one's been holding his line very well, but oh no, an overextension with Archeon, he's all solo. Torok's coming in, smelling blood, and just crumps the Ever-Chosen. Absolutely destroyed. All it takes is a little opportunity, and Torok pounces like a hungry beast. Proves that perhaps he is the actual Ever-Chosen. Great game, honestly. Well played to both. Yeah, Alric taking home the win on that one. Tough roll. I do think this is a pretty even matchup. Both players, the Manticore's kind of rampage RNG did play a pretty big factor here, I feel. But those peripheral engagements can prove critical, which is one thing that the Beastmen are very good at, is cleaning up, you know, light cavalry, fast cavalry, in the context of Warriors of Chaos, just completely shutting down their ability to have any ranged pressure whatsoever, right? Because they rely on their skirmish cavalry for any sort of shooting. You have your fast attack units here, you can get in and at the very least disrupt and, you know, make it hard for these javelin or whatever marauder cavalry to really pay out. So a great job here to the Centaurs, even though they don't necessarily all pay for themselves. I'd imagine, yeah, throwing axes do a great job here. Fantastic. Huge value on the Bray Shaman as well. Just some brutal Traderkins. Torok's taking a beating, but he doesn't have to do a ton here. Same thing. Gorbel absolutely getting crumped. But hey, somebody's got to eat the damage, right? Ungor Herd's also eating some damage. One of them actually pays for itself, which is surprising to me anytime it happens. Spearman Herd, not necessarily as much in terms of surprise, at least. I'm a bigger fan in general, but Warriors Chaos side, let's see here. Yeah, the Warriors themselves, probably, yeah, a couple of them were pretty cost-effective. I do like the pick of the Chaos Chariot as well in this matchup. Generally, Beastmen infantry very light. They don't really expect chariots a lot, I find, because in past patches, you know, Beastman Mass has just been able to deal with it so easily, so it's kind of a cheeky little counter pick here. It does pay for itself pretty much, but yeah, the peripheral engagement, like I mentioned, the Horse Master is just getting crushed without getting any value back is a big problem for sure. So, Beastmen prevailing in mobility, who would have expected? Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll flip back over to the bracket as I load up the next replay. Torok is very strong. It's going to be interesting to see in Game 3. You know, with sort of the strength of Khorne. I've been having some discussions recently about, like, Scarbrand stats finally got out, and just in general, Khorne looks insanely strong in melee. But anyway, speaking of strong in melee, Alric Raw coming in with the Greenskins this time. Definitely very strong faction against the Dork Elves. Got Marathian, a single Manticore, very tasteful. Some Scourge Runner Chariots as well. Sisters of Slaughter can actually trade decently into Greenskins infantry, believe it or not. Dark Riders with shields, some Dread Spears. Yeah, on the flip side here, this is quite the full stack of angry orcs and goblins. We've got just goblins up front, a couple of meat shields, some orc boys, savage orc biggins, super strong orc boar boys, also very cost effective. 8 loons, tons of skirmish cavalry, including the mangy marauders, AP, spider riders, wolf riders mixed in there. More goblins. Grom the Paunch, of course, and a river troll hag with some stone trolls, orc shaman, some more boar boys. I love the pick of the boar boys too. Just some nice, cheap, cost-effective AP. You can kind of use them to pressure, yeah, Scourge Runner Chariots to a degree. Just keep them honest. You know, they'll probably do some damage also, or take some damage rather from the Scourge Runners. But that's, I mean, they're only 650, so it's not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, it's crazy to me that these guys are the same price as, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Kara Horsemen are also very good. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you're looking at, you know, boar boys here. 48 charge with AP, like, not the best sustained melee stats, certainly, but most shock cavalry doesn't. Once you factor in and other buffs, it definitely can get very good. 65 armor, also nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's not great, certainly, but it's something. Plus, pretty good mass. Recently got a speed buff. I don't know. I really like regular orc boar boys right now. In general, I think the orc boar cavalry's in the best place it's ever been. But anyway, Chaos is in an interesting place in terms of mobility. Like, Shaggoths are actually very fast. They can kind of help contest that a little bit, but they're somewhat vulnerable. I mean, you have just straight up worse mobility than both Beastmen and Norska, which makes it tough in those two matchups. But you have a much better heavy sustain, right, in terms of your armored units. But anyway, Scourge Runner's kind of forming a pocket here. I'm not sure exactly what they're shooting at, but again, it's tough to make a call as to what they should be shooting at. Like, the Orc Boar Boys are not that much value, but you can actually kill their models, whereas on the, like with the River Troll Hagger on the Paunch, these Stone Trolls, if you could kill the models of the Stone Trolls, that would be nice. But these other regenerating targets, you could end up just burning all the ammunition of the Scourge Runner chariots without them actually doing anything. So something to be aware of is the ammo count on that unit, but let's see. Nice little Dark Rider kind of countercharge. Quick crumps, those Gobos are going to try and pull back and away, and the Sisters of Slaughter getting straight into Savage Orc Biggins. We'll see how this goes. That melee defense of 58 is going to help, so does the poison. It's still not going to be cost effective, though, as those Savage Orc Biggins are significantly cheaper, and they're just going to go to pound town with that big old weapon strength. But let's see, Scourge Runner chariots charging in. Again, anti-large might factor in, but the anti-infantry also certainly factors in. Nice Soul Stealer also popped. It's a bunch of these cavalry units. Maybe should have just held on to it a hair longer to try and get Grom and the Trolls, which is really the targets you want to go after. With that timing burst, with Morathi also fighting them, is a good time to focus fire with the Scourge Runner chariots. Try and actually finish some models off, but Morathi has to be careful. She's not got the best mass in the world, and if she gets caught up, oh yeah, look at that huge damage just raining in from all this bow cavalry. Grom gets a couple of big old whacks on her as well. Lucky Banner, Axe of Grom also giving armor sundering. Morathi's down to 10 armor. She gets shattered here straight up, so that is a rough go. Morathi is very strong, but requires precise up at the end of the day. You can tell Dark Elves are having major leadership issues. Green one might try and salvage it here and see. Nope, looks like he's going to throw in the towel. Yeah, that was a pretty brutal draw right there. Great job to Alric. Just great presence with that massive skirmish cab. The Mangy Marauders pay for themselves. Imagine these other archers. I mean, they didn't even have really too much time to pay for themselves, but that was yeah, that was brutal from Rafi there. Nasty, absolutely nasty. A lot of that value too. Grom on the chariot has some of the best animations for any chariot character, actually fighting other characters. So Morathi got the south end of that engagement. Yeah, I think Green One just needed to kite, honestly, with this build. Like, there wasn't a lot of reason for him to take this engagement straight up. Definitely could have played for time a little bit with these Scourge Runners. Maybe mix in a couple of repeater crossbows as well. Just try and kite it out and really drag the Greenskins down. I don't know. With these mobile fast attack units, it can be tricky, but I would think that your own Dark Riders be enough to kind of screen for the Dark Shards. Anyway, what do I know, though? Both these players probably way better than me. Anyway. Yes. Yes, Dark Elves very strong. Well, Manticores at one point in the game were not very good, but they have been quite strong for some time. Let me get the scoreboard updated as I ramble on about this. Believe it or not, once upon a time I actually named them in my top 5 worst monsters, but shortly after that they got some fixes. I don't remember exactly what they did for them, but yeah, Manticores have been just so cost effective for a long time. I really think they need to be more expensive than they are, certainly. Like, it's crazy to me that this Cygor summon is less Winds of Magic now than Manticore summon, but here we are. Speaking of Manticores, we're back with some more Warriors of Chaos. This time Alric leading the heavy boys against Green One's Lizardmen. And again, a full angry stack of lizards over there. We'll get to that in just a minute. But Alric coming in, he's got Archeon the Ever-Choose, a couple of Exalted Heroes, a couple of Feral Manticores, and a couple of Chariots again. I love this 750 Chaos Chariot coming back into style. I've been seeing this more recently, and I absolutely love it. Some throwing axes as well. Let's check it out on Lizardmen's side. Ooh, Razordons. Heavy shooting build here from the green one. Krokar. Ooh, interesting. This is a wild build, I have to say. A couple of Arcs of Sotek for melee monster anti-infantry. Blob damage. Yeah, lots of jabs. Got Clever Girls out on the flanks. A couple of Cold One Spear Riders for some elite anti-large AP. Again, Krokar plus a Sora Scarvet to also fill that role. Yeah, the Razordons I actually really like in this matchup. Razordons are a unit that I famously once misguidedly named one of the best skirmish cav in the game. I actually do still sort of stand by that to a degree. I think they're criminally underutilized, certainly, but this is one matchup where like they can actually outrange to trade Marauder Horsemen pretty much 1-to-1. And, well, it's not necessarily exactly cost-effective for them, but they can. And if you can deal with Chaos Mobility, like we were talking about earlier, you can deal with the fast attack, you know, light units, get these guys shooting and scooting, they can just completely punish other Greenskins heavy units. There is a lot of mobility power here, though, in terms of these characters on horseback. The chariots will have to be careful of the Razordons as well. Chariots don't have a ton of great targets to go after. I mean, Saurus aren't a great target to begin with, but certainly the Skinks will be able to be run over very efficiently, but that's a lot of lizard AP cavalry of different varieties, so there you go. Yeah, right? Never see Razordons. They're quite good, though, honestly. And Alrek's being very patient. He's trying to go for a full surround here, but one thing is he's kind of leaving all these Marauders isolated to a degree. Like, he's got a big pocket of strength right here with all these characters and the chariots, and it looks like he's going to try and come in and probably just roll up. But Hand of the Gods comes in, blasts Archeon, does a pretty good amount of damage to him. Not a ton, but definitely something. And since Archeon can't heal that back, the more of a problem for him than it is for others. Chariots coming in. Nice side charge there on the Skink cohort. They're going to quickly pull out of that. Yeah. Horsemen kind of taking up their flanks on the rear. Lizards forming up a bit of a defensive pocket with their missiles. Nice burning head is going to, again, catch some Skinks. Not really do too much, actually. I don't think that was overcast, but let's see. Archeon coming in, going after Krokar. Krokar getting surrounded by chariots and by Archeon. Archeon pops Slayer of Kings. Standard die, Cascading Fire Cloak, but he hasn't actually got any hits on Krokar yet. I mean, he's got like 882 weapon strength, but literally can't land a hit on Krokar for whatever reason. I don't know if it's bad RNG. I don't think, maybe he's just not actually doing any attack animations. Yeah, it looks like he actually gets distracted and starts fighting the Cold One cavalry there, so that might be able to bail out Krokar. But he's still at risk of these other single entities here. We've got the Summon Pharaoh Manticore for the Lizardmen diving in. The blob damage of the Ark of Sotek is a bit. I mean, it's not going to do a ton of these low model count units quickly, but over time it will. Lizardmen also kind of forming a little bit of a pocket up here on the high ground with these Razordons. Probably going to be able to fire in. The trees here will obstruct some shots from hitting anything really high value, but Marauder Horsemen are moving in. We've got another Burning Head as well. It's not looking great for the Warriors of Chaos, honestly, though. Like, the terror of the Bastillodon is definitely kicking in. Krokar was able to somehow withstand that massive power spike. And Archeon, on the other hand, gets 2v1'd here. 3v1'd even with Krokar, Scarvet, and Manticore. And I guess 4v1 if you do count the Bastillodon as well. Just a wild time for all. Yeah, another Manticore coming in. Warriors of Chaos Manticore comes in and also just somehow gets bullied. So single entity combat definitely proving to be pretty important here, as the Lizardmen do take advantage on this one pretty quickly once that single entity fight kind of plays out. Archeon, I don't know, did he actually get fully broken? Not yet, but it looks like he is going to shortly. Yeah, he did. What am I talking about? He's over here. He ran away already, and came back, as will this Skink Priest most likely. But, yeah, the Razordons, let's check in with them. Haven't really done too much shooting, honestly, but here, let's see, they've got their spines free. Going to be teeing off, hopefully on these, they really don't need to target the Exalted Heroes is the thing. Like, honestly, just targeting probably the Marauder Horsemen is what I would do in this situation. Try and clear them out, let Krokar and the Scarvet just work down these Exalted Heroes. Without Archeon, they're a lot less scary. Archeon's just kind of hiding in the woods over here right now, so... Right? Yeah, I don't know. I think... I mean, I like Transformation of Kadan summoning different monsters for different factions. I think it's a cool flavor, but it is a pain to balance. Like, the Eagle summon is just sad. Like, it just makes me sad when I take an High Elf or Wood Elf Lore Beastcaster that's not named Urthu, that, you know, doesn't have the Manticore summon. It just feels bad. Or, like, the Vampire Counts one is cool, even though the Vargolf really doesn't get enough time to do that much work. And it's a nice unit to have as a summon, I guess. But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see some different unit-type summons. Even summoning, like, a Pharaoh Stegodon, I think, would be fine. Empire Griffin. That'd be cool. Feral Griffin. That'd be super strong, probably, actually. Arguably stronger than the Manticore, but that's fine. I mean, I guess the Vargul's more expensive anyway, right? And Lizardmen actually getting cleaned up here. Some of the Razordons do get bursted down. I'm not even paying any attention, but the... Oh, man, that Manticore just got absolutely gatted by those Razordons, though. That was pretty impressive. Once they're able to sit and shoot, they definitely can get the damage in. Arcs of Sotek are going to be a big pain to deal with, though, for the Warriors of Chaos at this point. They don't really have any anti-large infantry. Throwing axes are just using their ammo on whatever, which is fine. You know, they're getting rid of these Cold One Spear Riders, but definitely going to need that ammunition to try and take down these thick Arcs of Sotek. But looks like Fireball comes in and lands. Archeon goes to cower back in the forest, let his Wind's Magic regenerate some more. The throwing axes are running a little bit low on ammunition, though, so once that's out, the Warriors of Chaos are going to be in a tough position. The Razordons are most definitely not running out of ammunition, as this Exalted Hero is finding out. Running for his absolute unholy life. It looks like he actually just straight up shatters, decides this is all way too much for him, which I understand. I can't say I blame him. Marauder Horsemen are going to try and move into melee with the Razordons, which is going to go kind of not great. The armor, even though the Razordons do have very flimsy HP, the armor and okay melee defense, I mean 30 melee defense is something. Certainly to be able to resist kind of this weakish skirmish cavalry charge. It's not too much. Reinforcing units able to quickly come in and help push back the tide. Meanwhile, hot take, Eagle Summon isn't significantly worse than the Manticore Summon. Well, neck bet, now that the Winds of Magic difference is so extreme, I think it's only like, what, 14 to summon an Eagle and it's 20 to summon a Manticore. I would actually probably agree with that. It's just sad because for High Elves specifically, it was a good cheap source of terror, and it's something you don't have at all, you know? I mean, your most expensive terror unit is Flamespire Phoenix, which is not actually very good. And anyway, yeah, you have a hard time getting access to terror as High Elves. So as a cheeky way to get quick terror, it was nice, but I actually don't totally disagree with that statement there, that the Eagle Summon can be better than the Manticore Summon. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, I'm still hoping Rahagra's Pride someday get terror. We can hope. But anyway, Ralric actually taking an L on that one. So Green 1 getting back in the series 2-1. Let's see if he can run the table and continue to win. He'll have to win out to be able to come back. It is a best of 5, so it's first to 3 wins. Ralric already nipping at the heels, but this is definitely getting back in the door. Man, look at the value on Crockguard. 2,400 damage value, 8,000 damage dealt. Just pummeling Archeon. I have to say, maybe got a little bit lucky there on RNG at the initial kind of power spike from Archeon. But credit to Green 1, you know, quickly reinforcing with his own units here. The single entities for Warriors of Chaos probably just largely don't pay out. The rest of the army performs generally okay. Marauder Horsemen mostly cost effective. Same with the Marauders. Infantry here. Chariots, meh. Didn't have a lot to really go after, which is tough. Very mobility, kind of large-centric build from the Green 1 here. So, I have to say it's interesting. I do like it quite a bit. Some fun elements. Let's see, though. Got possibly a few more games to get through. So we'll transition on over to the bracket once again as we load up next replay. This time, Alric's going on the Lizardmen and the Green 1 with the Greenskins. How about that? Oh, I also forgot to update the scoreboard. My apologies. I'll give the man his due, which is a score of 1. I know, right? Sisters of Singing Doom with their screeching causes terror, but an actual lion does not. Anyway, Alric coming in with the hefty Lizardmen. He's got Lord Mazdamundi, Ancient Stag, and an Arc of Sotek. So you got the grab bag of strong monsters here. Cold One Riders, King Cohort with Javs. Got, yeah, Jav cohorts. Cold One Riders, fairly straightforward. Some flyers as well. Pterodon Riders, Pahawk Sentinels. More Pterodon Riders over here. And testing that Greenskin Skirmish Cav with your own flying Skirmish Cav. Got Spider Rider Archers for just such a purpose. Gets Creepers as well. More Spider Riders. No Wolves this time. We do have a Gobbo Big Boss, though, along with River Troll Hag and Grom the Paunch, of course, Gobbos, Orc Boys, Stone Trolls. It's typical Greenskins build, you know, not too much out of what I would expect, although no Black Orcs and no Biggins, which could be a problem against this hefty Lizardman build. There's some thick, large units here. The Ancient Stag, absolute meatbag, 7,400 HP. Big Mazda Boy himself, 7,500 HP. A couple of massive meatbags. The Ark of Sotek here, 140 armor, 130 for the Ancient Stag and for Mazda Boy. Oh, huge. Yeah, it is the Emperor to a degree. It depends on the players that are playing. Most of the time, I mean, I would say the factions that we've seen so far in this matchup are broadly seen as strong factions. Warriors of Chaos is an interesting choice. I probably would have taken Empire, but again, it just kind of depends on the players that are playing. So hopefully we'll see some more Empire later, but for the time being, Lizardmen maintaining this position, and this is an interesting map, you know. The way that the green one is choosing to approach this attack here, you know, with the terrain being such a big factor, like he could try and draw the Lizardman out into this open space where he can attack from, you know, multiple uphill angles, but right now he's kind of just wheeling around, try and attack like crossways, you know, on the hill so that neither player gets too much of an advantage, which is smart. That way he's not, you know, facing too much uphill. Like if you were to take on this slope right here, that's going to be rough. So it's actually in Alric's favor to turn around and maybe try and make a stand right here, even though he does have a pretty missile-centric build. It looks like the skink cohorts are going to commit to an engagement. Ancient Stegodon's been shredding those goblins. A little bit of a Spirit Leech here on those Pawhawk Sentinels to draw down a few models. Big old drop rocks there. Drops Spears of Tepok or whatever it is on the AP Loons. Does a ton of damage. Slock also moving forward now. Grom the Paunch and the Orc Boar Chariots do manage to get back and start to mess up some of those skink cohorts. But again, it's a relatively non-infantry centric build for the Lizardmen, as Stone Trolls are starting to assault uphill into potential Cold One Riders. That could be a good response there. Greenskins infantry is not overly scary at this point. The Orc Boys kind of getting crumped, and this monstrous presence for the Lizardmen completely untouched at this point. We'll see. These actually Fire Leech Bowlers, or are they regular Pterodon Riders? It does appear as if they're regular Pterodon Riders, although I have seen Fire Leech Bowlers recently against Greenskins. Looks like we're going to have a big old Soul Blight here from the Troll Hag, debuffing some armor. This is a pretty risky engagement, though, for Grom. I mean, there's no support in this entire area of effect. These archers are somewhat in a nearby position, but this Greenskins build, funny enough, does lack a heavy presence. That's why I talk about Black Orcs. Like, I mean, Black Orcs still probably get ground down by this monster peasant presence, and like the Ark of Sotek, you know, blob damage is probably really nasty against them, but I would almost think, I don't know, you've got to have some more heavy units here, because these light goblins and the Orc Boys are going to get pushed back pretty hard. We'll see. Right now, big old presence forming. All the Pterodon Riders come to the ground to try and rout off some of this skirmish cavalry, which they definitely can. I mean, they cause fear. Very low leadership of those Greenskin skirmish cav. They get sneezed at too hard, they'll run away, so that's fine. Meanwhile, in the center, Grom the Paunch charging in. He does okay against single entities, but the armor of these big beasts is definitely a problem for him, even with Axe of Grom active with some potential armor sundering. You know, stack that with various other armor sundering effects. You can get some pretty good value, but right now the Soul Blight's on cooldown. You know, there's not really anything else. I don't think even Axe of Grom is active right now. Did he take Axe of Grom? He might not have, to be honest. In which case, it's absolutely moot point, but it does look like another Soul Blight's going to be coming in. Looks like the Stone Trolls are also pretty healthy, so the regenerating single entities of the Greenskins, as long as they are still fighting, it's obviously they're still have a chance to win, but things are looking a little dicey. Then again, the Lizardmen support units are also pretty flimsy. I mean, it's entirely consisting of skink cohorts and a couple of Cold One Riders, which this Cold One Rider coming in unopposed is going to get a nasty charge into these Stone Trolls. This might be the end of said Stone Trolls. Yeah, they're going to immediately rout, despite the immunopsychology from Grom. River Troll Hag also doing fine, but the Goblin Big Boss, not so much. Let's see what they can do here. Yeah, Greenskin Skirmish Cavalry having a hard time. finding a home. One benefit of skinks is their fast speed. When they break a unit, they can usually chase most infantry units off just straight up, devour them, which is really nice in this specific situation against low leadership like goblins. A little bit of a net. I don't know who exactly that was on. Probably Grom, but Grom getting absolutely multi-teamed right now. The infantry support's in his favor, but just thick Mazda Mundi coming in here. We've also got the Ancient Stegodon looking to move in as well. Arc of Sotek, again, these Colon Riders on the rear charge with the Stone Trolls. Another Banishment going to be used as well to just tear apart a few more Skirmish Cav. But, man, I'm surprised. Grom and the River Troll Hag able to hold at least until now, but I would imagine with them going down, that's probably going to be pretty close to army losses. Yeah, all these strength units right here just got broken. The River Troll Hag might straight up just go down to Mazda Mundi here. We'll see. Stone Troll still only lost one model, but that leadership issue is an issue, certainly. And the green one does end up paying the price there. Again, I mean, I get against the threat of Arcs, Sotek, and big monsters. It can seem a little bit counterintuitive to try and take elite infantry, but I just think you have to have some Black Orcs in this matchup. Maybe that's just my own bias speaking, but yeah. Yeah. The flashing water is definitely a problem, for sure. For sure. But Alric's going to take the win on that series then, 3-1. Very well played to the green one. So we'll see Alric tomorrow in the grand final. But for the time being, let's get back over to the bracket. Alric has advanced. We've still got Void Lulz versus Ice Power. Yes, this map, you know, I was a little bit conflicted about this map. I think it's pretty balanced myself. It does have some interesting terrain formations, but in my opinion, it's a pretty well balanced map. But yeah, Alric's a very, very good. He's an old tournament player. He hasn't been super active in the past like 6 months, I would say. But yeah, he's very good, very, very good. Like I would put him in the top tier of players for sure. Yeah, Neckbet, I would agree. It is risky, but I just don't, like, I don't know. I feel like you almost have to have them in a way. And as long as you can control Mazda's movements to a degree with, like, Mither, or maybe you take Skarsnik and you know, throw the fungus on him or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe also some artillery doesn't hurt in this matchup for the Greenskins. Personally, I think the ROR Goblin Rocklobber Hammer of Gork is pretty nice here. Just applying that blinded debuff like to a bunch of these different units would have been super helpful, especially in that melee grind. Considering your units, you know, without your big power spikes of WA and other things, they actually don't have that great of attack stats at the end of the day. But anyway, very well played. Let's move on. We've got the first replay of Void Lulz versus Ice Power. Let me also get this set up here. Reset the scores. Excellent. Okay. And again, we're back on Toothgrass Hill. This time, Beastmen versus Greenskins. We'll just get straight to the builds. For Void Lulz, he's got Torox, Jabber Scythe, interesting pick, Brave Shaman, Lord Wild, and a single tasteful Manticore, a couple of Tuskor Chariots, some Centaurs with throwing axes, a couple of regular Centaurs on the flanks, and Ungor Spearman herds. Ice Power coming in with a Goblin Great Shaman, awesome pick, love this guy. Big armored monster, pretty good against Beastmen, typically. Wolf Rider Archers, also for some range support. We've got Spider Riders, Gobbos, a couple Black Orcs, Mangy Marauders, along with the Spider Riders, and 8-Peak Loons. So pretty interesting Greenskins build. You do also have the River Troll Hag and a Goblin Big Boss to round out the character core. But the Spider's a big investment. It can be a little bit risky. It against somebody like Torox especially. I mean, it's a big target, and his leadership's not amazing. So if he takes a lot of burst damage, you can go down quick. But nice little Vindictive Glare. Going to start to poke at the Jabber. Jabber's definitely going to be an issue, but a nice little counter charge in here from the Spider Riders to push back those Centaurs, also trying to inundate the Chariots, not let them get a clean charge on those Black Orcs, which is definitely smart. The Black Orcs are going to get in. They could probably do a number on Torox if you were to stand and fight for too long, so yeah. Looks like we're going to have another nice little Traderkin, also Spirit Leech on Torox himself, be expected. The Goblin Great Shaman moving in, trying to get after that Jabber, but the Jabber gets the don't even try it, which probably should have been casted on a character, to be honest, for the ability cooldown. Not that it makes that much of a difference. It's, what, like 15 seconds? Anyway, but River Troll Hag trying to respond here. And the Chariots together with the Jabber Scythe, like you can see how Voidlul's is using the Chariots just to kind of annoy this Goblin Great Shaman, and they are armor piercing. Will do a little bit of damage to him over time, even though it's sort of janky. But Black Orcs at this point getting a little bit isolated in the front line. They're going to get hit by the Jabber, hit by the Chariots. This is not the situation they want to be in. Greenskins cavalry as well. Out in the periphery, they're just kind of running around doing stuff. I mean, they're fighting these Warhounds, leading them on a goose chase. Anyway, let's get back to the fight at hand, where Infernal Mentor's just been broken off. Looks like Torox in a vulnerable position as well. Brass Body has been popped. Nice little rear charge there from the big boss. But the Brass Body will even help against the Spirit Leech damage, obviously. Once that's gone, though, it will be a little bit better. Nice hit from the Jabber on the Gobbo Big Boss here, and Gobbo's got to be careful. Again, if he takes too much shock damage, that low leadership will start to cause problems. And here, this is a really huge timing push. Great volleys from those Centaurs with throwing axes. Torox gets a big hit. He's going to pop Crown of Command on himself, pop Wah as well. Nice timing push. If he has Sneaky Stabbing, it doesn't look like he does. Sneaky Stabbing's a great little self buff for the Goblin Great Shaman when he's in a fight like this. Try and actually get some more hits, and get some more damage on somebody like the Jabber. But let's see. This kind of grind down fight, if the Black Orcs can just sit and kill everything, that is going to be the Ice Power's key to victory here. But losing his leadership could mean those Black Orcs will want to rout. And keep in mind the Jabber Slight's Mortis effect is leadership conditional, right? So if the Black Orc's leadership is high, they're not going to be taking that AoE drain damage from the Jabber. But here we go. Big old throwing axe volleys once again. Helps to break the Goblin Great Shaman. That being said, Torox also taking substantial damage. They need stabbing popped on him. He's down to 23 melee defense and only 100 armor. I say only 100 armor, but, you know, it's a difference, certainly. Oh, no, this is a nasty Traderkin, though. Again, going to hit a whole bunch of different units. Let's see, the Centaurs are throwing axes, moving into position to try and finish off the Goblin Great Shaman. They definitely will be able to. Ice Power is going to throw those Spider Riders into melee to try and stop that from happening. It's a pretty hopeless endeavor for those poor Spider Riders. And Voidlul's also has this other unit of throwing axes that's going to be able to, at the very least, push this Spider off, but probably finish it off, in all honesty. Which means, yeah, these Black Orcs, again, just keep getting ground down. Once the leadership's low, that Mortis effect kicks in. They can't finish off Torox or any of these other characters, and it looks like it's going to be a narrow victory for the Beastmen. Certainly Ice Power put in a good effort, but Goblin Great Shaman just risky. You know, I almost wonder about Skarsnik in this matchup these days, because Torox is a pretty common pick, but being able to enrage him and just kill him with, like, maybe instead of taking the Goblin Great Shaman, you take the Queen to get the additional Spiderling summons are really nice for helping out with Beastman mobility. And then you take Skarsnik. It's an old school combination, but probably pretty good in this matchup now. Anti-large AP poison of Skarsnik will do a number on Torox, and he also has the most HP of any Greenskins Lord, I want to say, base. Maybe Grom has more base, but I think Skarsnik has like more than 5,000, which is pretty solid, honestly. But yeah, Greenskin's going to quickly hit army losses there. Voidlul's taking home the first game. Yes. A lot of Grom skins on display, yes. Yes, it is. Except the Goblin Great Shaman, which of course means that the Greenskins lost. So there it is. Yeah, let's fast forward through this end. I'm not sure. I guess there's just some unbreakable Gobbos still fighting here. Gotta give him a proper finish. There we go. Excellent. So, on the army breakdowns here, yeah, Torox getting some really nice value back. Once again, that Traderkin proving very brutal. Maybe, honestly, should be toned down a hair. But with good placements, just getting massive value back. Usually when those AoE damage spells, when there's an unlimited number of targets they can hit, you can get insane returns just on casting it on blobs. But, yeah, Manticores do a great job. Actually not. But Jabberslite does pay for itself. Jabber's a fun one against Greenskins. I actually really like this here because Greenskins are definitely going to try and fight you in melee in some capacity. And due to low leadership, like, you're almost guaranteed to get good value out of the drain on this guy. So, really strong here. Yeah, on the Ice Power side, I love the pick of the Goblin Great Shaman as well, even if it didn't necessarily end up working. I do think maybe... Yeah, it's tough to say. Again, me personally, I might consider Skarsnik plus the Queen in this matchup as an alternative. But River Troll Hag, the Goblin Big Boss, though, man, he punches way above his weight class. They need stabbing, and with the Spider Mount, I want to say he's like 550, something like that. Super cheap, considering how much value he got back here. And that they need stabbing also. Just nice for going after Torox. That armor debuff, the melee defense debuff does help get rid of him. Greenskin Skirmish Cav, generally pretty cost effective. The Black Orcs did struggle. I mean, they didn't quite get enough time to pay for themselves before they got ramped up on, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one for sure. Bringing the spider does limit your model count somewhat, which I think could be an issue now against Beastmen, but let's go on to the next one. Go ahead and update the scoreboard here as we get loaded into the next replay. Shredderkin is strong. Well, Tonome, we'll see. It does look like Ice Power is going to be playing the Empire on this next one. Unfortunately, he did not bring any Pistoliers, but he does have some Outriders. Void this time bringing the Grom skins with Grom, of course. He's got Orc Boar Chariots, which again, coming back into the meta. That cheap kind of 750 cost chariot in these wide assault builds can be pretty good. We've got some Orc Boar Boys as well. Orc Shaman, some Goblins, 8-peak Loons, Wolf Rider Archers, some Spider Riders, and then some more Wolf Rider, Spider Rider Archers there. Outrider's going to be moving up, doing some initial skirmishing. We've got Volkmar the Grim, some Flagellants, 3 Knights of the Blazing Sun, Spearmen, some Swordsmen. Ice Power definitely looking pretty aggressive, though. Just going to probably try and take this engagement straight up, which is risky, definitely, but we'll see. With Volkmar the Grim, anything's possible. Yes, playing the Empire, not the Emperor necessarily. It is Volkmar the Grim, but yeah, on Plate of Spiders here, the Greenskins are kind of attacking again uphill into the Empire's position, which is not necessarily ideal, but right now, Ice Power, I'm not sure, doesn't really have too many great targets to try and focus initially. Like, Volkmar can come in, yeah, he's going to do some good anti-infantry damage to the Goblins and Orc Boys, but not really sure what can actually deal with the Orc Boar Chariot super efficiently. Which is, one, I guess, why you bring him here, right? It's not a very expected pick. They probably trade decently into Empire Cavalry as well because of their armor piercing. I guess we're about to find out. Maybe not. Looks like the Orc Boar Chariot's going to nope out of that one. Knights of Blazing Sun may overchase and actually get into these Goblins. Nope, looks like Ice Power on top of his micro as well. Going to pull back there. In the front line, though, Captain getting in. He's so cheap, man. Grand Hammer of Sigmar also on him to juice up his melee attack. Try and take out this Goblin Big Boss, so turning around the assassination on the assassin, but Grom's got other ideas, so he's going to come interrupt that fight. Meanwhile, Orc Boars getting a great charge on the Flagellants with the Boar Chariots as well. Empire just continuing to fall back, trying to kite, trying to make good use of those missile troops. Here on the flanks, though, this is a super cost-effective engagement for these Orc Boar Boys on some Empire Knights. They're going to trade very well there. In terms of cost, Volkmar likewise unleashing a banishment here in the center. Again, the Captain just putting a number on that Goblin Big Boss. For the most part, it's a pretty even fight. A nice burning head also going to be used to crisp up some of those piggies. Get some nice bacon going. Maybe start a grease fire or something. I don't know. The Goblins are pushing uphill, though, and Knights of Blazing Sun trying to respond wherever they can, but Greenskin's aggression is definitely paying dividends so far. I mean, we'll see. Definitely pretty back and forth. The Captain did suddenly get surrounded. Tables kind of turn on him. But we'll see. Knights Blazing Sun might be able to come in and bail him out. Certainly Volkmar still completely healthy at this point. Just an absolute terror for the Greenskins. Likewise, Flagellant Swordsman able to win against some Orc Boar Boys. And the Knights Blazing Sun here pushing back the Skirmish Cavalry. Looks like they're going to be screening in, making sure those Outriders try and stay protected from the Boar Chariots. You know, using Boar Chariots to go after Skirmish Cavalry is certainly unusual. But, hey, if it works, Don't question it, right? Over here, though, the Empire Knights did end up with some spear support doing okay, but they are inevitably going to lose out on this fight. So nice little get from the Greenskins right there, while also being popped to give them a huge power spike once again. Looks like something else here. Cascading Fire Cloak for a little bit of melee defense on those Knights of the Blazing Sun as they turn around, charge into these chariots. The boar chariots are definitely causing problems, even if they are starting to go down in a few different situations. Definitely super, super close right now. Dead even, I would say. The boars coming to chase off the captains. Pretty good get. The Goblin Big Boss did survive briefly, but he is now getting terrified away by Volkmar. Nice brain burster there. Takes out some of those supporting spearmen, but the Knights do prevail with the terror of Volkmar. These other Knights of the Blazing Sun, though, starting to get worn down, and both the Chariot Lords just cackling with their respective armies doing most of the work, and them just kind of, you know, staying healthy. I mean, Grom's definitely taking a little bit of damage here. He's popped a bunch of his power spike items right now, but Empire, I do feel, is starting to run out of steam a little bit, and if we look in the periphery, like, it's all Greenskins, right? We've got Skirmish Cav, Skirmish Cav, Skirmish Cav, Boar Boys, Skirmish Cav, couple Chariots, you know, Boar Boys, Goblins, just almost in a full surround at this point around the Empire. So it's definitely a very micro-intensive situation, and not something I could micro my way through, in no way. But let's see how they can do here. Knights of the Blazing Sun going to come kind of respond to this little push here. Volkmar also trying to get into position to help out, but he is quite a bit slower. The Spearmen and the Knights will just have to hold for the time being, which they do. They probably actually doing some really good damage to the Boar Chariots as well. These other Knights of the Blazing Sun come out here. They're going to get tangled up in some of that Skirmish Cavalry, probably dragged down by the AP balloons, which is not ideal for them. But, ooh, nasty Fireball on Grom the Paunch. I almost wonder if Ice Power would have been better served using his Winds of Magic primarily to just Fireball Grom, rather than even trying to cast any Burning Heads at all. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But, I know, right? Empire build without Pistoliers. Don't they know whose tournament they're playing in? No, anyway. Yeah, the Spearmen getting a little bit isolated here. Going to get taken out by the Boar Chariots. But Ice Power trying to form up a little defensive pocket. He doesn't have any more Outriders, unfortunately, so he can't apply any range pressure, whereas Voidlulls definitely can. Got a handful of Skirmish Cavalry here to apply. Handful of Skirmish Cavalry here to apply. Another Fireball being used. Makes pretty good contact on Grom. Still plenty of healing cap space left, though, if we take a look here. Yeah, I mean, he's generated about 1,000 HP already. Still 1,800 plus to go. Pretty solid. Volkmar, on the other hand, if we take a look at his healing cap situation, he's also probably, yeah, got 2,800 healing cap space left, plus his nearly 5,000 base HP, so that's, I guess, kind of goes to my point before about Skarsnik having over 5,000 HP is actually a lot. Like, people don't realize. It might be useful, and probably I will do this once Game 3 comes out. Do a full HP breakdown and talk about kind of common, like, HP ranges for different unit types, including HP per model, because it's not something you think about super often, but it is arguably one of the most important stats in the entire game, right? Anyway. Outriders are better than Pistoliers. Depends on what you need. You need armor piercing, yes. And they literally have better DPS than handgunners, I think. So, like, if you have the extra gold, you should just take Outriders instead of handgunners. Pistoliers, if you need to screen, and if you need to go against light armor, Pistoliers are definitely the way to go. And if you need something to act as like a true like 360 shooting missile cavalry, obviously Pistoliers are your option. But anyway, Greenskins kind of pushing out here, just finding isolated Empire troops wherever they can. Ice Power, according to the tournament rules, doesn't necessarily have to just get kited around here. He can kind of take a defensive stance and just take it on the chin. But that is going to be bad for him, considering Volkmar will probably be the only thing left. These Flagellants, Voidlull's doing a great job focusing them directly with all of his Skirmish Cav that remains. Obviously, the 0 armor, 0 missile block chance. That is going to be the best unit for them to go after to generate value. Meanwhile, Grom is just out cackling in the distance, so we're going to probably fast forward through this mid-game as Voidlull is very patiently using up all of his ammunition. He could honestly probably win if he just charged everything in right now, but there you go. Definitely trying to be patient, moving in units individually. over blobbing, I would say. Here we go, though. Big final engagement. Grom comes in, pops his stuff. Obviously, Volkmar's going to pop his stuff as well. Grand Soulfire coming in. Going to bomb out some of those boar boys. But the Chariot's blocking in the mass of Volkmar is definitely a problem. He's also going to throw a Banishment here as well, but it's probably too little too late, unfortunately. It does do some significant damage, don't get me wrong, but it's the inability to finish Grom at this point is probably an issue. Volkmar himself, I mean, he's not a pushover. His flaming damage, only 245 weapon strength isn't that much, but the fire damage does apply, obviously, to Grom. Scroll of Shielding used on him. If he has Lucky Banner to layer that one after the other, it could get a significant uptime of damage resistance. But Volkmar, if he just had a little bit more time to work here, probably could get it done, honestly. But he's a little bit too low at this point. Everything else is probably going to shatter, and that'll be GG for him. So our Warfladzelins have over 8k HP. Yeah, right? That's a meat bag. Question. Thanks to the video, so thank you. Question from you. Which Total War Warhammer 3 Chaos faction will be best in multiplayer? It's really hard to say. I mean, obviously, I have no idea because I haven't played, but just from a mechanics perspective, Tzeentch in the right player's hands is going to be a nightmare to deal with, but it will be super micro-intensive. Same for Slaanesh, right? I think Khorne will... Depends on your definition of best. The easiest to use, Khorne and Nurgle, I think, will be up there. Nurgle will probably be the... I don't know. Slow factions are sometimes not super forgiving. I don't know. Come back to me in a few months when I've had a chance to play the game. But, anyway. Yeah. Great game to both. Nice showing from Ice Power here. Unfortunately, just, I think... yeah, I mean, he played it very well, but at the end of the day, losing out on these Outriders without them and getting too much value was painful. The Boar Chariot's just not having a really decent response here, weirdly enough. I mean, again, it's kind of an unexpected unit. Only one of them actually pays for itself, but this disruption and the mass blocking and just general nuisance of the Chariots does help quite a bit here. The Empire Infantry does get pretty well limited because of that. Likewise, Knights of Blazing Sun do okay, but they don't pay out tons of value. Volkmar definitely carrying pretty hard on that front. Nice Burning Head, so as well from the Bright Wizard. A couple of more Fireballs maybe would have finished off Grom in some key points, but it's unlikely, I would say. Anyway, yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Void Lull's going to go up on the series 2-0. So now we're actually going to flip perspectives. This replay will be from Ice Power's perspective. And he is going to be taking the Vampire Counts into Warriors of Chaos. So already you should know Warriors of Chaos this is by far their worst matchup. Vampire Counts, pretty much since the beginning of time, have been a nightmare for Warriors of Chaos. We've got a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, very cool. Super strong character, especially on the Dragon. Just ridiculous duelist with strong items. Got the Devils of Schwarzhofen, regiment around Vargeist. Love that. It's just a flex pick, to be honest. I've got some Fellbats here, some Zombos, plenty of Graveguards, great weapons, Unholy Lodestone, Corpse Cart. We've also got a Balefire Corpse Cart, both of them mounted by Necromancers, and a regular single Corpse Cart. So this is an appropriate number of Corpse Carts for a build of Vampire Counts, I would say. You definitely want at least one at all times. 3 is appropriate, though. That is definitely appropriate for this situation. Got some Horse Masters doing some skirmishing initially. A couple of Giants, which is a good pick. I mean, not a lot of good situations for Giants, but this is one matchup where they can do well, as long as they don't get cycle charged by Blood Knights. Also got chosen with Halberds, Warriors, great weapons, Sigvald on foot with a Firecaster. Probably going to fast forward a little bit through this initial skirmish phase as the Marauder Cavalry throws some javelins at bats, I guess, which is not ideal. I mean, the bats are very cost-effectively catching those javelins in the face, so that's fine. But I guess just trying to get rid of them so they can't chase routing units, I'm not really sure. I would think you'd want to conserve all of those javelins for the Blood Dragon only. Only 70 armor on the dragon itself. On the Zombie Dragon is not that much. Definitely can get good damage in with the javelins, but very, very extended skirmish phase here. It's going to result in not all that much going on. There was a Gaze Nagash that came in also, did a little bit of damage to the Giants, but yeah, 5 minutes of kiting, and what have you done? You've done some damage to some Fellbats, you've done some damage to some zombies. I guess the Devil's Forts often have taken some damage as well, but really nothing too impactful, so Ice Power just content to kind of sit back and not, you know, not overcommit to this engagement here. He knows that he can probably do some pretty good damage with that Gaze Nagash over time to the Chaos Giants. Doesn't really have many anti-large units either, didn't bring any Blood Knights or anything, but it looks like Marauder Horsemasters did get a hold of some Hounds out there on the flanks. Warriors of Chaos getting sick of all the games. They're going to now move into combat, it looks like. Chad, Double Giant, I know, right? Yeah. Yep, indeed. But another thing they can do here, which is smart, Devil's Forts often just flying over where the Balefire and the Unholy Lodestone. The Unholy Lodestone can give them a little bit of trickle healing, a little bit of an Invocation of the Heck, just to ensure they stay nice and healthy. But basically what you do here is, with the Devil's Forts often, you come around and then you just rear charge or side charge the Halberds, right? Actually, they might just front charge the Halberds, which is a play, I suppose, but they're going to quickly disengage there and leave the Bats to their fate. Breath attacks are probably on order for that Chosen with Halberds, I would imagine, but man, those Devil's Forts often definitely took a beating already, almost to their healing cap, which is impressive, but let's see. Giants standing firm for the time being. Sigvald also just chilling. There's the breath attack we've been looking for. Just doesn't do all that much damage to that blob, actually. I think some of the hits might have been on the Marauder Horsemasters rather than on the Chosen, which is unfortunate, but such is how it goes sometimes. Fast forward a little bit more as the Warriors of Chaos are going to continue to shoot a bit. Ice Power, again, not overcommitting, which is smart. A lot of players will feel the need to just constantly be fighting, but veteran players know that they can keep units standing sometimes in the right situation without it being bad. But nice Ice Power just flying around in circles here so that you can get that Helm of Discord on these Chaos Warriors. With that also avoiding the Javelin Fire. Nice little Burning Head in response. The Grave Guards are coming in individually, which is potentially a problem, but at the same time, they're not, like, just overfeeding kills. And you can see how he doesn't even take an engagement with these Chosen with Halberds. I mean, why would you? A Grave Guard aren't going to do anything there, so another breath attack. Nope, Gaze Nagash going to be used, just continuously picking at that Giant. I don't know, you know, with all that Winds of Magic usage, you would think it might be better off used to just summon zombies, or maybe do some more Invocation of Nahek to try and heal these Grave Guards, to sustain them in this fight. It's hard to say, but one Warrior's Great Weapon just about gone down. No Mortis Engine. Yeah, it's a risky play, certainly, but see what he can do here. The Blood Dragon cycle charging the Giants should be pretty good, but the Giants also do have to be... the Blood Dragon's got to be careful not to take hits back from the Giants, right? Their massive 600 weapon strength can pound him out really quickly, so he's got to be careful. But, oh yes, MLG Corpse Cart. So did you know that the Necromancer Corpse Cart actually has 300 weapon strength and is a functional melee unit? A lot of people didn't know this, but there's the breath attack we've been looking for. Brutal side-shotting breath just generates huge value against those Chosen with Halberds. You see the Chaos Sorcerer fighting in here, going to throw a nice Flaming Sword of Ruin. Looks like one Necromancer Corpse Cart went down. That was the Unholy Lodestone. The Balefire does survive, though. So the Warriors of Chaos are going to have a hard time casting any more spells. But the Blood Dragon does summon up a unit of zombies there. Going to pull back up into the air. Continue to try its Cycle Charge. Vangeist's Revenge. Sorry, Vargeist. Devil's Forts off. And Vangeist's Revenge is something completely different. They're also going to get in here. That Helm of Discord timing push is really nice. The zombies even will be able to do some damage during that uptime, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, Vampire Count's definitely in an okay position, but ooh, these doggos getting loose in the Horse Masters. This is a very good situation for them. They are pretty well outnumbered here, so they could have an issue with that, but the Bats will help a little bit there. They'll certainly get some damage in. That is a giant blob of horsemen, though. Let's see what the Blood Dragon decides to do. He's low on HP, so he's got to be careful about where he dives. Diving on these horsemen to try and tear out them might not be the worst idea. Also, get a little bit of the hunger regeneration, but Regular Corpse Guard is just about to go down here. Ooh, we're going to see a straight down Dragon Breath. I must have missed it. Did that hit Sigvald? It might have hit one of the Giants. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But right now, both the Giants are not doing amazing. One of them's alright, but this is a nice little single out here. With Giants get separated from their support units, we're going to have another summon, just so that the Halberds 100% cannot get involved in this fight. 2v1, it's still going to be risky for the Blood Dragon, but he does, again, it's not 2v1 because the Necromancer's here, and he does have 300 weapon strength, right? Necromancer on the Corpse Cart is secretly like a pretty strong melee combatant, if you didn't know. Devil's Forts often get a nice charge in here. Here comes the Blood Dragon once again as well. And this is how it happens. This is how the Vampire Counts could win this. It's just slow grinding, cycle charging. The Graveguard with great weapons. Again, just slowly grinding down these warriors with halberds. The Chosen with halberds. Chosen should pretty much be done at this point. Yep, looks like they get terror routed. But, ooh, man, that Necromancer takes a shot to the face there from the Giant. I mean, I say they're decent melee units. They definitely can't fight an actual melee unit like a Giant or, you know, Sigvald. But the Balefire certainly probably has affected the Winds of Magic of Void Lulls here. It's hard to say, but Ice Power doing a good job cycle charging. Another big timing push. Sword of Anti-Heroes, Helm of Discord. Heart Piercing is up to 892 weapon strength with armor sundering. That Giant has literally 0 armor and 8 melee defense. Still 39 attack, which is honestly pretty impressive, but the Balefire moved up and around, is now moving back into a position to continue debuffing Winds of Magic. Those Schwartz often come in to try and get rid of those Horse Masters. They're very few in number at this point, but they do still cause terror, which is going to be a factor. And not looking good. All of a sudden, all the support units are gone with the evaporation of those halberds. These other halberds did come back, but they're not in a position to support this monster fight at all. And suddenly, the Blood Dragon has some license to come in here and start to snipe stuff out. Giant is first thing on the list. Getting a big ol' attack there. Sigvald trying to chad through the zombies, get into a position to get attacks in the back of the Blood Dragon, but Devils also drop down. And the Blood Dragon, I mean, he could turn around and just fight Sigvald straight up, but instead choosing the wiser path, less risky path, get it back up in the air, get an Invocation of the Heck, and get a Cycle Charge. I mean, that the Sorcerer Lord of Fire is pretty much done at this point, right? This charge should actually fully shatter him, if not completely kill him. Let's see, though. Yeah, Vampire Counts does always devolve into blobs. I mean, that's kind of what they are as a faction, right? Anyway. Sigvald might beat this Necromancer, but the rest of the Chaos Army is going to struggle, so we'll continue to fast forward. Man, this game's 15 minutes. It's quite a long game, must be said. Warriors getting ground down by the Graveguard with great weapons. Graveguard with great weapons even still will trade okay against Sigvald, especially with that Helm of Discord active. He's down to 36 melee defense. The Vigor factor is huge in the late game. Anytime Sigvald's on the field, you know with his perfect Vigor that he'll be really hard to kill in the late game. Let's see what Ice Power can do. Pushing 17 minutes now on this match. Finally, the Delta Schwarzhoffen and the Blood Dragon get a couple of good surrounds there with the Grave Guards. The Horsemen not in a position to respond. Sigvald takes a few big hits there, and that's all it's going to take to get to army losses. So, Ice Power to get able to get back in the series with a victory there. Void Lulls still pressing, but certainly a great game, nice matchup, and interesting to not see Blood Knights or Mortis Engine, honestly, from the Vampire Counts. It worked, though. I mean, Blood Dragon carries almost 4,000 damage value, 20,000 damage dealt overall. Just ridiculous. One of the strongest characters in the game, and he's a generic character. Let's think about that for a minute. The Necromancers also, I mean, they're here. They might have done some damage, done some mass blocking. They certainly regenerated some extra Winds of Magic. But look at these Graveguard. Man, that is really good value on Graveguard with great weapons. Part of that is because of the Corpse Cart buffs and healing. That +5/+5 attack and defense just helps the Graveguard trade that much more cost effectively into similar units like those Warriors with great weapons, who themselves got some pretty good value. A lot of times you'll see inflated value figures for anyone fighting Warriors of Chaos against Vampire Counts because they have so much healing, right? The Horse Masters are brutal. Man, almost 2,000 damage value on one unit of Horse Masters. It's impressive. Giants also both pay for themselves. I mean, it's hard to argue with Giants really in this matchup for most factions that can take them. Even Beastmen, like Beastman Giants hiding in the woods, even though Beastmen have much better tools now than the Giant, you can still take a Giant, and this is a matchup perhaps to do it. But, yeah, Void not able to take home the win, even with Sigvald carrying 3,000 damage value as well. Yeah, like I said, inflated damage values are to be expected against Vampire Counts, but let's go on now, as I will update the scoreboard here. We'll get to the bracket. And let's go to the next replay. Can Ice Power continue his run? Let's take a look. Depths of Isha Heartlands once again. This time Void Lulz taking the reins. He's got Jezzails, which is an interesting pick here. There's some interrupted lines of sight, so Ice Power could potentially use that to his advantage to try and avoid taking too much damage from the Jezzails, but other than that, no real long-range pressure here. We've got Grey Seer of Ruin, an Assassin, a couple of Globadiers, some Skaven Slaves, Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, Chieftain. I love the Chieftain, personally. I think he's a very, very good Skaven character. Some Rat Ogres. So, yeah, Ice Power here. He's got some Sisters of Singing Doom, some Dread Spears, Witch Elves, Canine Assassin, Feral Manticore, some Sad Swords, some Dark Riders. Got some Gutter Runners with Poison up front as well, looking to skirmish out, maybe do some damage. It's interesting, though. I would almost think, you know, with Dark Elves, maybe you'd want to go Bolt Throwers here. If you kind of set up, even though I was just saying direct line of fire artillery can be tricky to use, if you do set up in this little concave, maybe force the Skaven to advance into your position, I think you could outrange the Jezzails and maybe get the Skaven out off of their hill. But right now, Ice Power is choosing to instead try and maybe get a full surround and assault the hill position, which we'll see. Yes, these are all pre-played. It's not actually live. Just because of the holiday season, I wanted to give the players free reign to just play these on their own time so they wouldn't have to be beholden to my schedule, which is fine. It worked out pretty well, to be honest. We've been able to get through. I mean, I've been barely streaming over an hour, and we've already got through basically all of the replays that I had for today, so... perhaps. I mean, if Ice Power can get the win on this, then we'll at the very least see one more game. But Void Lulz can close out the series with a victory here. Let's see. Skaven still standing. The Jezzails are using their ammunition on cheap Sad Swords, though, which is fine. I mean, Lokir, Fellheart, Canine Assassin, they're all fine with that. The Manticore, he's totally fine with that. I guess Manticore could be a she. Anyway. Skaven are actually going to move off of the hill down into the open valley here, which is an interesting play. The elevation situation is going to favor the Dark Elves, but you can see here that, yeah, the Sad Swords, having been sacrificed, is tough. They're not going to get any value back, and they're not the most expensive unit in the world, but they're not ridiculously cheap either, so it's a little bit painful. I guess they do get some damage on the Gutter Runners there, but the rest of the army... You can see that Ice Power went for the full surround, but Void Lulz is like, okay, I'm just going to move up and then turn around, I guess, is the plan, right? Since the majority of the army is now facing the other direction. Let's fast forward a little bit and see. Maneuvering, Void Lulz, yeah, just literally trying to get to the opposite hill of the valley, so managed to cross that entire open space because Ice Power went with such a wide surround. But the Witch Elves start to move in and evaporate some units. Sad Swords, Fierce Spears moving in, the Dark Riders and the Spears, and the Witch Elves all going to get a nice catch on some Rat Ogres there. Likewise, Manticore moves in to try and get those Poison Wind Globes down. Also do some damage to the Grey Seer. Has got some pretty good charges in so far. But we'll see. I mean, pretty thin on the ground for this Dark Elves build in many aspects. The Witch Elves are good. They're going to do a lot of anti-infantry damage, but they're also pretty squishy. You can see a lot of them starting to run out of steam already just due to a lot of the incidental damage from like the globes and the Gutter Runners with poison and various other sources of damage. Manticore gets absolutely dropped by the Jezzails and the Chieftain here, though, along with the Assassin. Nice little combination of melee units. Just straight up shatters that Manticore, so that's pretty bad. Thankfully, for Ice Power, he can continue to summon more Manticores, which he does. Murderous Prowess also popping off. That is going to give a nice little damage spike. These Spears, especially fighting those Rat Ogres, but just in general, all units map-wide. Unfortunately for Ice Power, he's got like multiple high-value units kind of in this little pocket of just fighting clan rats, right? They're not really contributing to this other main pocket of battle here, where they are sorely needed. Lokir and the Manticore and others definitely need to get in the fight. They got to be careful. I mean, Lokir could be the assassin, certainly 1v1 without the debuffs, but the assassin with the debuffs and with the assassin and with the chieftain helping him out definitely make a pretty big difference. But Dark Elves low HP coming back to haunt them at this point. Inability to shut down those Poison Wind Globes as well has been a big problem. These Dark Riders could get back there and perhaps shut them down. Maybe use the spears to screen the the Gutter Runners there. But Witch Elves, yeah, like I said, very good anti-infantry damage, a little bit squishy. I'm not sure if they paid out here. The Web of Shadow is probably paying out. Chieftain also having to get out of there, as he also is subject to an assassination debuff from the Canine Assassin, right? So just playing the Uno reverse card there. Another Summon Manticore for the Dark Elves, going to try and keep this push up, but the balance power starting to tell in favor of the Skaven as the attrition wears on the Dark Elves. Definitely feeling the hurt of the various globes at this point. We'll see. Sisters of Singing Doom managed to catch those Gunner Runners and actually get them into an enrage, which is fantastic. Summon Manticore gets in, does some pretty good damage to the Greyseer Lord Ruin. I do admire going after the snipe here, although I would think maybe trying to get off the Poison Wind Globes might be good as well to try and salvage your what few multi-model units remain. Looks like the Spears are going to get in there and attempt just such a feat, but the Canine Assassin, I'm not really sure what happened here. Must have got 2v1'd with the Chieftain and the Skaven Assassin, but Chieftain then goes into the Sisters of Singing Doom, is going to just have a ball. Meanwhile, Lokir is trying to go 2v1 with the Canine versus the Skaven Assassin, and it does look like they're going to get pretty good contact there. But, oh man, dreaded 13th Explosion! The explosion doesn't hit anything, not that there was really much for them to hit, but Summon Storm Vermin. Going to continue to apply pressure here, probably try and get a surround on Lokir along with some of these other units, and it does look like the rest of the Dark Elf army is breaking. So yeah, fun to see Lokir. Unfortunately does not take home the win for Ice Power. Voidlul's able to prevail, and some nice maneuvering there from Voidlul's. I have to say, he definitely utilized that terrain to pretty good advantage. Ice Power, I understand what he was going for with the wide surround to try and assault that hill position, but Voidlul, seeing that, you know, he was very actually thin in that front position, just breaking those two Sad Swords and then moving across the field, set up on the other side. Pretty heads-up play there. Great positioning, I have to say. And Skaven, you know, they're reasonably fast, but they don't have a lot of actual fast units. Chieftain, though, man, I don't remember exactly how much he is on the Bonebreaker. It's not a lot. Probably pretty cost-effective, honestly. Globadiers, you would expect them to trade huge value if they're able to just sit and shoot, which they mostly were, and they mostly do. Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers do pay for themselves as well, which is nice. And I don't... Yeah, they're here. They do decent damage against Dark Elves. Gutter Runners with Poison, also pretty solid. Rat Ogres, they're here mostly for mass. One of them does pay for themselves, though. Lokir had a little bit of a tough time just getting bogged up in Skaven mass. I would think maybe even... I don't know, Rakarth on his Chariot's probably so risky here, but it could be fun. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. That is all the replays I have for you guys for today, though. Thank you all so much, everyone who came out live and watched. We are going to be going to the grand final tomorrow, which will be between Legends, Alric Raul, and Voidlul. So bright and early. It'll probably start at about the same time tomorrow morning as we started, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.